In today's biased news, Argentina elects a libertarian fanatic, Israel continues to target hospitals, and a coalition of nations gets ready for a ceasefire tour. Argentina has elected Javier Milei as its new president, in a significant departure from the political mainstream. Milei, a far-right libertarian, secured a clear victory with approximately 56% of the vote, defeating his Peronist rival, Economy Minister Sergio Massa, who conceded with just over 44%. The election results reflect a growing discontent with the established political order and a desire for change, regardless of what form that will take, in the face of the country's economic challenges. Milei, aged 53, addressed his supporters in a defiant speech after the win, acknowledging the monumental problems ahead, including triple-digit inflation, a looming recession, and increasing poverty. He emphasized that the era of decadence had come to an end, and pledged to take bold measures. His plans include a slate of absurd libertarian measures: economic shock therapy, which entails shutting down the central bank, abandoning the national currency, and implementing significant spending cuts. All of this, of course, while making the poor foot the bill, what we call austerity in the West. Milei's popularity among the youth is rooted in a perception that he represents a break from the repeated economic crises that have characterized Argentina's recent history. His win marks a profound rupture in the country's political landscape, challenging the long-standing dominance of the Peronists and the conservative bloc. Despite the enthusiasm surrounding Milei's victory, he faces enormous challenges which libertarians are simply not equipped to handle. The government and central bank coffers are nearly empty. The country has a substantial $44 billion debt with the International Monetary Fund. Inflation is approaching 150%, and there are extensive capital controls in place. For many Argentines, the choice between Milei's inevitably painful economic reforms and anger at Massa and the Peronist Party framed the election as a selection of the lesser evil. The election outcome also has potential implications for Argentina's trade relationships. Milei has criticized China and Brazil, stating that he won't deal with, quote, communists, and has expressed a preference for stronger ties with the United States. The win prompted congratulations from former US President Donald Trump, who remarked that Milei would make Argentina great again. In contrast, leftist Colombian President Gustavo Petro characterized it as a sad day for the region. Brazilian President Lula, while acknowledging ideological differences, wished Milei luck and success, emphasizing the importance of respecting democracy. Milei's victory, therefore, not only marks a shift in Argentina's domestic policies, but also introduces a new dynamic to its international relations and economic strategy. There has never been a successful libertarian government, so the prognosis is grim. The key takeaway here is that there is a very real political gap for more radical ideas to flourish, a space which reactionary elements like Milei will fill if the left does not. Israeli tanks have surrounded the Indonesian hospital in northern Gaza following artillery fire that killed at least 12 Palestinians in the complex, as reported by Gaza's Ministry of Health. The situation in the hospital is described as catastrophic, with around 700 people, including medical staff and the wounded, trapped inside. Hospital staff, denying the presence of armed militants, insist on staying to treat the injured. The medical facility was targeted unannounced, prompting desperate efforts to evacuate civilians. Indonesia's foreign minister condemned Israel's actions, correctly calling it a clear violation of international humanitarian laws. This incident followed the evacuation of premature babies from Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City. The largest health facility in the territory is being evacuated at gunpoint after days of siege, with 7,000 people inside. The UN's OCHA reported the collapse of services in northern Gaza's hospitals due to widespread military strikes, fuel shortages, and a lack of medical supplies. The Israeli military claims that Hamas, Gaza's leadership, has built underground infrastructure below hospitals for military use, a charge Hamas and medical officials deny. The burden of proof lies in Israel's hands, and so far they have produced nothing of substance. Even their staunchest allies in the Western media have started to call out the regime's more egregious lies. Medical workers at the Indonesian hospital reported Israeli tanks visible from windows, constantly moving and firing, causing fear among those trapped inside. The hospital has received dozens of dead and wounded from air raids and shelling in recent days. The death toll in Gaza has reached 13,000, including 5,500 children. More civilians killed in a month than the almost 2-year Russo-Ukrainian war. In today's lightning round, OpenAI, the organization responsible for ChatGPT, has removed its CEO and founder, Sam Altman, citing findings from an internal investigation that revealed he was not consistently truthful with the board. The surprising move sent shockwaves through the growing AI industry. 500 employees have threatened to quit if Altman is not reinstated, and they demand the board resign. Prominent brands, including Disney, Paramount, NBC Universal, Comcast, Lionsgate, and Warner Brothers, have ceased advertising on Twitter, dealing a significant blow to its reputation. This move follows Musk's recent public embrace of an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, aligning himself with white supremacists on the absurd idea that Jewish communities push, quote, hatred against whites. China's foreign minister emphasized the need for urgent international action to address the genocide in Gaza during a meeting with officials from Arab and Muslim-majority nations. Wang welcomed counterparts from Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Egypt, the Palestinian National Authority, Indonesia, and the head of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. China reiterated its support for an immediate ceasefire. The meeting in Beijing marked the beginning of the delegation's expected tour of several world capitals. And in positive news for the day, an international study has debunked the misconception that feminism entails hating men, marking a positive development for gender relations. Published in Psychology of Women Quarterly, the meta-analysis combined findings from 5 psychology studies involving nearly 10,000 participants across 9 countries, including the US, UK, India, and South Korea. The research refutes the misandry myth, a commonly held fallacy used to undermine the feminist movement by suggesting it promotes hatred towards men. The study concludes that feminist attitudes towards men are generally positive and comparable to the attitudes of others, challenging a trope that has deterred support for feminism and sought to delegitimize the cause. Who would have thought emancipatory movements are rooted in solidarity? That's all for today. We'll be back on Wednesday with more news. If you appreciate our work, consider becoming a patron to support the show and get some cool perks, including early access and an audio version of the news.